Hi, friends, it's me, Barry. Good morning. It is a great day to come together and ask the question, Whatcha got?
Good morning today, everyone. How you doing? This is your shock jock, unshocked jock, Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, the Come Together Compass and Pack Podcasting Networks. Saying I see all you groovy people out there, and I thank you very much for joining us. Because today is National Radio Day, a celebration of voices that guide us, comfort us, entertain us, poorly in that case, and keep us company through every season of life. Look, radio is more than just a sound. Radio is connection. It's community, and it's the heartbeat of storytelling. A lot of times it's the best way to get all the information that's going on in your community. Until now, because now you've got Community Pay It Forward and the Come Together Compass. Radio is pretty good too, though. You know, alright. Yeah, radio's still good. So, especially our friends at Radio Bob USA. It's not just a station, it's a nonprofit that's working to make lives better for so many people. We honor our giving partner, Radio Bob USA, because it's a voice and a friend, and it's a companion that brings music, memories, and a meaning to people everywhere. And remember, with Community Pay It Forward, you can shop anywhere and show your support everywhere. One choice at a checkout can lift a family, strengthen a mission, and remind someone in crisis that a community still cares. That mission today could be Radio Bob USA. National Radio Day reminds us that radio has always been the place where people gather. It used to be the place where families gathered. They didn't go and watch TV. They didn't go to the movies. They didn't do any of this stuff. They all used to sit there and listen to Superman or listen to Orson Welles or listen to all these. And I mean, I think one of the most amazing stories of all time is how Orson Welles put out a program, The War of the Worlds, that actually had families scared. And I'm not talking nervous. You had families that were scared. Unfortunately, there were some people who took their own lives during that broadcast because, it was so gripping and so believable that you had people that literally took it very, very seriously. But I mean, radio was the TV of that age. Radio was the news of that age. There was no such thing as Fox News or CNN or any of these others. It was the radio. Hell, there wasn't even, Channel 9 news. There was none of that. It was your radio, your broadcast. That was it. That's who, that was your grip on outside the home reality. So, radio is a place where we hear songs that lift us, the stories that move us, and the voices that make us feel less alone. Radio is the bridge between strangers. And it's the comfort in quiet moments. Radio is the spark that keeps us connected. And honestly, if it weren't for radio, the long trips that we have would really suck. I can't remember hardly. Well, actually, you know what? I can remember. I remember one time I was going to visit my son in Kansas. And I could not get the Colorado Avalanche feed. And this was before smartphones and everything, so I couldn't get the Avalanche feed from Denver, but I was able to take and turn on the radio, and I listened to the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues play on a superstation from St. Louis. But it was very sketchy, it was very spotty, until I crossed over the lines back into Colorado, and it was probably like 2 hours of radio silence until I was able to pick up the Avalanche game. By that time, the game was pretty much over. Pissed me off. I was angry. But all you had at that time was like tapes or CDs that you could listen to constantly. There was no such thing as, here in Colorado we have 850 KOA, which at night you could hear, AM radio, you could hear that all the way to Kansas. And, I haven't listened to that station in a long time because of what's going on politically, so I don't agree with a lot of the stuff. I have never agreed with a lot of the stuff that they had on there. Dan Kaplis was one that I used to always listen to. He's a lawyer here in Colorado, and he was very bright and brilliant, and I loved listening to him. I also listened to the individual who was talking about racism in America, and then later on that evening was murdered, or not that evening, but later on he was murdered for that show. And I remember that because I actually called into that radio station on that show. That was like my first venture onto calling into a radio show. It affected me in that it made me so angry about the racism that was going on that I actually made that phone call that day. So Radio Bob USA carries that tradition forward with heart. Bob brings personality, humor, warmth, and the authenticity to every broadcast. Bob and his team do not just play music. They create moments, memories, and a space where people feel welcome, understood, and appreciated. They also do a lot of stuff around the community. It's not just music. There's a lot of other things about family and participating and being outdoors and doing other stuff. So Radio Bob USA is built on passion, built on dedication, built on the belief that radio still matters. Radio still connects, and radio still brings people together. National Radio Day is about celebrating the people who keep us company on long drives, early mornings, and late nights, quiet afternoons. It's about celebrating the voices that make us laugh, make us think, and make us feel. It's about celebrating the broadcasters who remind us that community is not a place, it is a feeling. And if it weren't for radio, there'd be less of us who sit there and look like dumbasses because we're screaming at the car about something that someone else has said. I always appreciate a good debate, and I know that I have no fear of calling on these shows and saying my thing if I have the time. I don't always have the time to wait online and speak, but with the creation of internet radios like Radio Bob USA and stuff like that, it makes it a little bit easier to get in touch with them. Satellite radio, calling in to like the Canadian stations to talk about hockey. And stuff like that. I do think the radio has been, obviously it's been affected by like YouTube and other podcasts and stuff like that. But the one thing that I do miss about it is that connection that we can have with live. That's one of the reasons why I think I'm going to be going back to live podcasting. I miss that interaction with everyone. And I want that interaction to come back. Well, that's something that, is very important to me personally. Look, if you've never listened to Radio Bob USA, today's the perfect day to do it. Please scan the QR code that you see in the corner here. Visit Radio Bob USA. It's got all of his connections, it's got his story, and it's got what you need to continue to support wonderful, wholesome entertainment for the entire family. So you can also visit RadioBobUSA.com and tune in Share a station, lift their voices, and support a partner who brings joy to people everywhere. Once again, Radio Bob is community driven. Okay, it's a station offering, music, stories, interviews, and personality that bring people together. Bob's, the voices on there are warm, they're familiar, and comforting, creating a listening experience that feels like home. It's not just entertainment, it's connection, it's companionship, and community. Please visit radiobob.com, tune in, and enjoy the broadcast. And if you get a chance to talk to him, let him know that, hey, I heard about you on Community Pay It Forward. That would help us out immensely. Listening to a familiar voice in music can reduce stress, improve mood, and create a sense of belonging. Radio helps people feel connected even when they are alone. Your voice matters. Always. Your presence always matters. And feeling that connection matters. And if you or someone else is struggling by feeling like people aren't hearing your voice, responding to your connection, or appreciating your presence, please call on organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness Helpline at 1-800-950-6264. Once again, that's 1-800-950-6264. Our daily challenge. This is our mission of the day. Share one song that means something to you. Music connects hearts faster than words ever can. So share one song today that means something to you. Okay? I'm going to say, if you can deal with a little bit of, harder rock. This is not a very hard song, okay, but it's a lot more active than a lot of music out there. But there's a band called Trivium, and they've got a song called Heart of Your Hate. And it talks about how to rip out that heart of hate. Get rid of that hate that you feel. How do we rip out the heart of your hate? To me, it's a powerful song. It means a lot to me personally, because we're in this never-ending quest to rip out hate out of people. Remove that hate. Remove that just hedonistic feeling of anger towards people. So, Trivium, Heart of Your Hate is the song that I would like to share with you. Please give us your song. Type it in the chat. Then like, share, and subscribe to this video. Help us grow. We need to reach more people. If we reach more people, if we get our message out there to more people, we can do a better job of ripping the heart out of hate. So, our question of the day. What radio moment or song has stayed with you throughout your life? Like, what's the first thing that you remember about the radio that really stuck with you and sticks to you still to this day? What radio moment or song has stayed with you throughout your life? Mine has got to be being on college radio and how much fun it was to be able to control a little bit of what was out there. I was going through. I was definitely in my drinking heyday at this point in time, so responsibility was not one of my key friends here. But I got to talk about things that were bothering me, and now I'm here doing it. On Whatcha Got on a daily basis. But I really enjoyed being able to, I like to use my voice. I like to talk to people. I like to tell stories. It's something I've always enjoyed doing, and you guys are obviously very, very, very accustomed to that. So, what is a radio moment that you remember? What is the first radio moment? What's the best radio moment? I would also like to say that, one of the other things was finding out that the individual who had called and bullied that announcer was murdered. I remember the realism of what that could bring, and I remember thinking that, oh my God, this isn't an act. This is people actually getting angry. This is actually people who are expressing their opinions, and they think their opinions are so powerful that they're going to take and they're going to do something stupid like go and murder someone. So, that would definitely be a runner-up for them. So give us your answer, please, in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and please help us grow today. So, National Radio Day reminds us that voices carry power. A familiar voice can calm a storm. A calm voice, a kind voice, can lift a heavy heart. A steady voice can guide someone through difficult moments. Radio has always been the place where those voices live. Radio also creates plenty of excitement. Look, I am a huge, huge fan of radio sports. I think that you have to be one of the most talented individuals in the world to call even a baseball game. You've got to paint a picture of what's going on. I've listened to people play golf on the radio, and I am telling you that has got to be one of the harder things to do, because you've got to take something that most people can't watch on TV, and you've got to explain it, blade of grass by blade of grass by, immense pressure on them. Then again, you get into something like hockey. How in the hell you can breathe while you're calling a hockey game and making a huge difference on the radio? That's beyond me. You're a powerful individual. Mike Haynes for the Colorado Avalanche was the premier hockey voice when it came to radio. He was the best in the business. And he didn't have a lot of the cliche moments. He didn't have a lot of that stuff. Rick Jenneret in Buffalo, very good, very exciting. He was the king of the one-liners. There's a on the Hockey Network on Sirius Satellite Radio. They do this little skit. You can find it on YouTube called "The 12 Days of Rick Jenneret." You want a good laugh? You're a hockey fan? Go and check out on YouTube "The 12 Days of Rick Jenneret." It's going to make you laugh. It truly is. So, but Radio Bob USA gives people a reason to smile. And they give people a voice they can trust. And that's exactly why they are part of our community. Community Pay It Forward is built on connection, built on compassion, and built on the belief that no one should face hardship alone. We don't have to. When you support a giving partner, any of our giving partners, you can lift an organization like Radio Bob USA so they can continue to lift community, make community better, and support people who just need a helping hand. Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. I am Zach Clayton. We are the Community Pay It Forward program. We are the Come Together Compass. This has been What You Got. Please remember that with Community Pay It Forward, you can shop anywhere and show your support everywhere. One choice at a checkout can lift a family, strengthen a mission, or remind someone in crisis that the community still cares. Please also remember that your actions matter, your support matters, and your heart matters. Love someone out there because someone out here loves you. I will see you again tomorrow. Please remember tomorrow is Red Friday. We will be talking about senior citizens and our dear friend Terry Thompson of Blue Jeans and Berries. We'll see you tomorrow. As always, if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. Please. It can be a lonely road out there sometime. Grab someone's hand. Walk them down that path, because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. See you tomorrow on What You Got.